What's up, creator? Today we're talking about two very interesting products which can change the way you're filming. The products we're talking about today are these little lights here. And these are the new lights from Zhiyun, the Molus X100 and the Molus G60. And to be honest, the X100 is my personal favorite of these two lights. But let's start with the G60. So I'm gonna cover up the specs, the optics, the power supply, and the modifiers you can attach on these two lights. The Molus G60 is a COB light which has a 60 watt output. You can change the color temperature from 2700 to 6500 Kelvin. And there are two knobs at the back of the light which you can use to adjust the intensity and the color temperature. There's also a little display where you can see how much output or what color temperature you're using right now. There are also presets on the lights which you can use for color temperature and the output as well. So for example, for the output you can click once and you get from 0% to 50%, and on the second click you get to 100%, and if you click it one more time you get to 0% again. You can also adjust the light using the ZY Vega app on the smartphone as well. This comes very handy if you hang up the light very high or so, or a place where the light is not easily reachable. I already own these lights for about a month or so and I'm using it for this setup right now. So I'm lighting myself here with the G60, which is so convenient because it takes so less space than my setup before, and I'm using a big softbox in front of it. But we get to the modifiers soon. So this is a very good example on how you can use the light. So you saw how actually small this light is. This is my smartphone here, and I got a pretty big smartphone, and look at the size. It's even half as tall as my smartphone, which is pretty crazy because I know my first 60 watt lights were pretty big. Oh, I don't have it here, but I got one from Godox, the SS60W, and these lights are pretty big and not portable at all. So having such a small light like this is such a game changer. You also have this little swivel arm here which has a 1/4 inch hole, so you can adjust the light easily on your light stand. So for the power supply, you can use this light via USB-C or DC input. So that means you can even use this light with a power bank. But just make sure the power bank has at least 60 watts to light up this little light here. If you use a weaker power bank, you won't get the full power output on this light. As you can see, I just attached the light to a weaker power bank and it's blinking right here because it doesn't have enough power yet. So if you want to use this as a mobile light, just make sure you get a strong enough power bank. Alright, so let's talk about the X100 now. The Molus X100 is a COB light with a 100 watt output, which is huge for this little light here. You can also change the color temperature from 2700 to 6500 Kelvin. There are also two knobs on the side to adjust the intensity and also the color temperature. And like on the other light, you also have these presets. There's also a little display where you can see how much intensity and what color temperature you're outputting right now. So for the optics of this light, there are two 1/4 inch holes on the bottom. For power supply, you can also use a USB fast charging device like a power bank, but this time the power bank has to have at least 100 watt output to get the maximum power of this light. But the big difference on this device is that you can use the dedicated battery grip. That means you can just attach it on the side here. The battery grip will last roughly 25 to 35 minutes at 100%. And it takes roughly around 2.5 hours to charge up the battery grip. Alright, let's move on to the modifiers, which are actually pretty cute. So the two lights have their own ZY mount this time. So you will get the light in a little pouch box, which is pretty nice to carry on with you. And inside the box you will get this mini reflector and of course the light and the DC power cable. With the mini reflector you also get this diffusion dome here, which softens the light a lot. And the softbox of course can't be missing. So there's this mini softbox from Zhiyun itself, which you can attach on both lights, and it even comes with a grid. These modifiers keep the footprint very small on these lights and make it so portable. But if you want to shoot in bigger environments or with bigger modifiers, there's also a Bowens mount adapter of course. And this is how I light up my setup right now. I'm using a Bowens mount adapter with the Molus G60 and a 60cm softbox on it. So these lights are very versatile. You can attach any modifiers you had before on your professional or bigger lights, I would say, because these lights also give you a very professional look, even if they look so small and your clients always want to see big stuff. But if 100 watt is enough for you, if you're not shooting against the midday sun or so, these lights are perfect. So if you're tired to carry around big setups, this is the best solution. I never saw lights like this small with such an efficient output. I usually bring a bunch of material or gear on the set, but I like to have it small, so I will definitely use them in my future projects. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to a shoot and I'm bringing this light only. So if you're a content creator, videographer, or even photographer, this also works for photography actually, and you don't have a lot of space for maybe your YouTube studio or even on a client side. If you're at a client side and there's not a lot of space, usually you cannot really plan that if you don't see the space before. These lights also fit perfectly well in almost every space because you can just set up this little thing here almost everywhere. Instead of these big lights you usually have, it's at least this big, and yeah, you see the difference here, right? So that's it for today. A very short video. I hope I didn't cut it yet, but if you have any further questions, please let me know down below in the comments. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, consider to subscribe because I'm coming up with a lot more gear reviews and also tutorials, of course, in the future, and I hopefully see you in the next video.